welcome to the show. I'm Eve Tidwell, show's Tidwell and Friends, and I have Carson Hand with me as a guest today. Not a physician, but actually a patient. And most people, when they see people as young as you, Carson, they're not thinking a cancer patient. So what I'd like to talk a little bit about today is why it's so important, no matter what age you are or who you are, if something's not right, that you stay with it until you figure out what it is. But let's go back. How many years?
Oh gosh, this was in 2005. So.
In 2005. So in 2005, you were an athlete. You were in high school, just a regular kid, you know, and so kind of fill us in. What happened?
Okay, well, I was a sophomore at Northside High School in Columbus, and in March of that year, I was on the golf team, so I was right in the middle of the golf season, and just one day I had kind of a pain in my side. I had a little trouble when I would take a real deep breath. It kind of hurt a little bit, and I kind of wrote that off sort of as nothing to be worried about because I was an athlete and I was active, and that kind of stuff happens to athletes.
Exactly.
So I kind of wrote that
Especially
off.
playing golf.
Exactly.
I mean, think of how many times you could use that. It was that pain in my side.
Right. Oh, yeah.
That's why it's that pain in my side.
I'm sure I probably tried to use that. So I kind of wrote it off, and I went to the emergency room, and they said, you know, it's just a little pneumonia or something, gave me an antibiotic, and it got better.
And at that time, did they do a chest x-ray?
They did, yes. They did an x-ray then, and that's, I guess, where they kind of assumed it was some type of pneumonia. So the next few months were pretty normal. Every once in a while I'd have a little, like my back would hurt for a day, or had to have a twinge in my shoulder or something like that.
So it wasn't always on the same spot.
Right, exactly. But that original pain that I felt went away. Well, in May of that year, I was water skiing at the river, which is something that I love to do, and I got finished, went over to the dock and pulled myself out, and I felt that original pain again. And I guess I was it kind of alerted me at that time because I remembered that pain from back several months ago. Within the course of a few hours, it got to be very excruciating.
And now, when you're saying that pain, it was on your right side.
That's correct.
Your right, and it was just kind of in your rib area.
Yeah, kind of like right up under your bottom rib.
And no one would think liver.
Right, exactly.
You know, and even when they did start to narrow down, not gallbladder, but liver, they wouldn't think cancer.
Right, exactly. You know, I went and got some more medicine for it, like painkiller type stuff, and finally my pediatrician, Dr. Thomas Ellison, he said there's something going on here, and we really need to figure it out. So I had another x-ray, and that looked fine, and so he ordered a CAT scan, and I had that done, and that's when they found out.
They could see it. And you mentioned Dr. Ellison. That's why it's so important to have a physician that knows you.
Right.
Because he knows you're not complaining about a pain unless you got something really wrong with you. Whereas, you know, somebody else that he knows who might complain often might not feel the need to get a CAT scan on. You know, you don't just get a blanket CAT scan. So for your age, that was pretty. It's
such a comfort, I guess, because like he's been my pediatrician since I was born.
Right.
You know, so I've always just, you know, been around him.
And he still looks so young. You'd never think it. Yeah. So you and Dr. Ellison found the tumor, and then he comes and talks to you and your family.
Right.
And then kind of where'd you go from there?
Well, it was a pretty quick process because like that morning that I had the CAT scan, I had it really early, and then I went back to school. My mom was like, you need to be in school, because I'd already missed a couple of days that week, and she was freaking out about that. It was near the end of the school year. I checked into school, you know, late that morning, and about an hour after I checked into school, I was checked back out. And he pretty much found out the results and said, you need to go now. I got you an appointment this afternoon. So it was a pretty quick process.
And so now, did they take some of your liver? How did they treat that?
It actually worked out good that it was in my liver because, you know, as a lot of people know, the liver regenerates itself. It's one of the only organs that does that. And it was a pretty quick process. You know, they ended up taking 2/3 of my liver out, and the tumor was actually inside the liver.
Right.
The liver has a sort of a skin around it that's almost like an apple peel, is the way they explained it to me. So the tumor was actually kind of inside that. It had ruptured a little bit, so it'd be like the insides of an apple, you know, breaking, getting a little too big and breaking through that skin.
Right.
But not enough to spread to any other part of my body, thankfully.
Did you have to have chemo?
I did. The tumor was 9.6 pounds, which was beyond any of our wildest, you know, imaginations,
Really?
And especially because I could not see it on myself.
Was it
physically.
eating away the inside of the liver, or was it a tumor inside the liver that big?
It was inside the liver, contained, and so, you know, originally going into this surgery, they actually biopsied it and didn't think there was cancer in it.
Right.
So going into this, I was thinking no big deal. They got in, found cancer. When they did the operation, it was a 10-hour surgery. It was supposed to be a 2-hour surgery. And they did all the measures that they could to clean everything
to make
really
sure that
well.
Clean lines.
And because the tumor had ruptured just a little bit, that's why I did the chemo.
I wonder if that's why the pain was so intense.
That's one of the things that they said could have been the issue, is that it ruptured. So I did 6 months of chemotherapy just to kind of, as a precautionary measure, really.
Right, and so then when your hair fell out, your dad, is that when he shaved his head too, or how did that work?
Right, well, the chemo that I was on, it was called an undifferentiated sarcoma. So it was not really a known type of cancer as much. So the treatment process was a little more of like a composition. Right, exactly. But one of the side effects was that my hair fell out, and a few of my friends.
Did your eyebrows too?
All my hair.
All your hair fell out.
And my dad didn't want to shave all of his off because he felt like it may not come back. You know, but some of my friends, a few of them did like mohawks for a little while and called it like hawks for hand.
Yeah.
You know, just funny stuff like that. So.
Well, what about your hair color and your hair texture? Did it come back the same?
Well, before I had the chemotherapy, it was very, very, very curly. Like I could get a fro if I wanted to.
Right.
You know, lots of girls would come up to me and say, "Man, I wish I had your hair." My grandmother was like, "I wish I had hair like yours. I wouldn't have to go get a perm," you know.
Yeah.
When it fell out and it started growing back, it came back a little more, the color was about the same, but it came back a little more like wavy, sort of.
Well, you've got so much to talk about, and that's so important for people to see a healthy, young, living from cancer person. Right. Would you mind just waiting and let's, I have to break for a commercial, but I want you to come back because you also have a talent, and I want you to be able to show that off. So would you mind waiting just a little bit?
Absolutely.
All right, we'll be right back. Y'all come back now.